Hey everyone, how's it going? Still enjoying the shit out of Doom Eternal's new modding capabilities, and I'm never gonna shut up about it. And yes, for anyone wondering, this is actually E1M1 from the first Quake that has been ported over to Doom Eternal. All I had to do was wait a couple of days and already I'm getting new mods to play around with. Over the time spent on this channel, I've had people email me regarding projects that they wanted me to showcase for them. For this video, I decided to tackle 3 particular projects at once that are similar in their approach to creating a more old-school shooter-like experience, with one of the 3 having a unique combination of other games that separates itself from the rest. In it, I'll be talking about my experience and also try to provide some feedback on what can be improved on in future projects or further development of the games I'm talking about. The 3 games today are Doomies, also known as Damikira, Infernal Bloodrush, and Lightning Katana. Each of the 3 present their own ideas, but are designed with the pick up and play approach where you get the full experience in a short span of time. And speaking of short, this will be a fairly short video as I'll be getting to the point with these games, my overall thoughts and feelings on them individually, as well as other things. I'll put links for all 3 games in the description so you can try them out yourself. Starting off with the first one, we have Doomies, also known as Damikira, developed by Brain Dead Rabbit Games, where you have a side-scrolling retro shooter that injects a metal-centric experience, as if a metalhead decided to stop arguing in forum posts in the 2000s and decided instead to make a simple but fun game on Newgrounds. Well, that's what this game is kind of like, and honestly, it's a lot of fun. In it, you have 3 playable characters with various unlocks that you can buy with currency that you can obtain naturally from playing the game. With the 3 selectable characters, you'll be booming and shooting your way with 2D side-scrolling fashion with a lot of blood and gore in between. Each layout is unique in each playthrough, and each playthrough has a consistent pattern of objectives to follow. Rescue 2 nerdy scientists, get a 30 kill combo, kill 5 special enemies, or kill 80 enemies. Gradually you get perks and different weapons that you can then use to create a lot of unintentional chaos in the arena. Also, to add more cherries on the top, the game also has a grappling mechanic to give your character more verticality and to also make quick evasions if the enemies get overwhelming. The game has a lot of metal music put into it, but it's the kind of music I would have expected to see in overly violent and gory games back in the 2000s. One game I remembered while playing this was a Flash game called Zombie Grinder 60,000. It was an old Flash game I used to play the shit out of when my extreme metal taste developed, and funny enough, this was the game that actually introduced me to grindcore. Whether it was the developer's intention or not to create a Flash-inspired game, Doomies does feel like a more polished version of some of those violent and gory games that you would find on there. It's got voice acting, a variety of metal music, a nice pool of weapons, and a good sense of replayability due to the leaderboard system and the randomized nature of the levels themselves. The hidden features and mechanics are something that pass by when you get into the flow state of the game, where you start mindlessly blowing enemies apart until there's nothing but mincemeat on the floor. The unlocking of more weapons or perks, more items bought with currency, are more reasons to keep playing, to see what else it has to offer. But if a game is already fun to get into and play, then you'll be naturally unlocking these things anyways, without thinking too much of them. However, I do have a suggestion and also a concern. Firstly, a menu for unlocked items or showcasing discovered power-ups or perks could be present, just to provide more information for what things do. Some of the best roguelikes already do this, and you can use the available information to your advantage in the next playthrough. The concern I have with this game is the choppiness of the frame rate I get from taking damage, or when I'm walking over a designated spawn point and an enemy spawns on me. There were also times where I took a significant amount of damage with larger crowds, and not knowing exactly what happened. I would in one instance mow through enemies, and in another try to do the same thing, only to lose all of my health in the blink of an eye and not realize what it just transpired or what hit me. While you do have brief information of what, say, perks do, and you also have icons on your bottom left, it would still be nice to have a portion in the pause menu that lists all of your active perks that explain what they do, as well as the weapon that you're holding. Other than that, I found this game to be a lot of fun, and there is a lot more to uncover. If you're looking for a gory but simple to get into side-scroller game, then I would give this game a crack. As an additional bonus, I'll also recommend another version called Doomies Bloody Fur, for those that want to try a simpler but still enjoyable version of the game. I'll put both links in the description so you can check either one out. The second game that I had a look at was called Infernal Bloodrush, a free FPS game developed by COG Studios that fuses with the tower defense genre. Both genres have crossed over in the past, but this is an example in its most simplest form. In it, you are brought to this place where you must defend the gate against the infinite hordes of demons that spawn in waves of forces, in tower defense fashion, You agree to the deal on the promise of being released, and so you fight fire with fire. Quite literally, since that's what the game's concept revolves around, your use of fire. Your character utilizes fire in order to protect the gate in one of two ways: throwing fireballs or using a flamethrower-like attack that hits multiple enemies at once, or if the blue flame meter goes up, the one on the left, you can then do a critical attack that does a lot of damage to the enemies. With each wave, the plot develops and eventually comes with its own twist. Before you know it though, you end up finishing the game pretty quickly. For those expecting more, there really isn't that much to offer here. It's a super short tower defense style game that has an appealing art style and basic but somewhat interesting mechanics revolving the use of fire. Fuel is like ammo in this game, and you can get it by either punching the enemies or punching the skulls placed around the arena. You have the default story mode and the endless mode. Either one will essentially offer the same experience because there are only 3 enemies types that you fight: the usual cannon fodder, fast enemies that try to blow you up, and these large things. A lot of the times, if you get their attention, they usually don't all swarm up at the gate, and I was able to kite them around and recover health over time. You can also utilize their blood on the floor for fire, which is another nice touch. It's a short but enjoyable free game that has some neat ideas, but I think those same ideas could be explored further in a much bigger project, with more variety of fire spells, more enemies, and even locations to boot. If you don't mind spending a couple of minutes on a small game, then give this one a try. It's not too bad. The final project I want to look for in this video is Lightning Katana, a Hotline Miami inspired game but with a weeb samurai complex that takes notes from other games such as Katana Zero, Hotline Miami, and Devil May Cry. In it, you go from room to room, kicking doors down and slicing away through pixelated goons. At the moment, it's just a demo, but there is a Kickstarter that I'll put in the description if you want to give them your support. Ever since playing Hotline Miami and Katana Zero, I've appreciated the one-shot kill style games that rewards high-risk gameplay, knowing that one fuck-up could cost you your life. Both of those games are really hard, but when you get into the flow state and understand the game's mechanics, it's some of the most rewarding and satisfying gameplay that I've found in an indie title like ever. This game takes that approach, but with some Devil May Cry combo aesthetics to encourage consistent and aggressive combat. While it's in a demo phase still, it has a lot of potential to improve on the simple to play but hard to master approach that those other games I mentioned are known for. Lightning Katana will have you Dark Souls rolling, parrying, shooting with your fingers, and using abilities to one-hit kill your enemies, while they are almost just as lethal. Unlike Katana Zero and for the most part Hotline Miami, you can take a few hits and still survive. But it is in your best interest to ensure this doesn't happen because it does get a bit overwhelming later on, especially if you decide to tackle the gauntlet mode. The movement and the combat feel simple but satisfying at the same time. Parrying is relatively simple where it's just a matter of waiting for the projectiles or the yellow flash of a melee attack to appear. Parrying is the type of mechanic that not everyone's going to be into, and that's okay, but this game doesn't necessarily force you to use it like your life depends on it. It's just another additional tool to make the fights easier to engage with, and also something that actually benefits you, quite literally, since it restores health if you successfully land a parry and kill the enemy afterwards. Most of the time you'll be focusing on dashing around, slicing like you're pressing a panic button, and using the other weapon that you have to shoot from a distance. Beyond your sword, you have your haki meter tied to your hand used as a weapon, or abilities to add to your combat arsenal that has, different effects. One is like a slash, another shoots flame. The enemy variety is limited, but are engaging enough to make you interact with all the present mechanics, and I can imagine that the final product, if all things go well, will iron out what's already there and possibly add more. I'm really keen to see where this one goes and hope to one day do a vid on the final product, but what you have is a really solid demo experience that takes the combo rank reward system of Devil May Cry and the one-hit kill gameplay of Hotline Miami and Katana Zero. What I would like to see in the future for this game personally is more enemy variety, more level variety, as well as polishing up of animations to make them more seamless and transition nicely between each frame. But depending on how the final product progresses, time will tell on this case. Either way, I'm still pretty excited for this. And that's all I have for this one. I definitely want to cover more indie titles in the future, whether they're sent to me or if I just find them myself. And they can be games that are similar in terms of their theme or similar gameplay in general. If it's something I like, or if it's a subject I like, I'll cover it into a video. As before, I have more videos planned. I might even have a Bloodborne video down the pipeline. Maybe. I'm always putting new ideas on the clothesline, and recently I've just beaten Darksiders 1, a God of War centric game with some Zelda elements, which I'm looking forward to talking about as well. All in due time though, I'll make All in due time, I will make them. Until then, try out these projects and see if they tickle your fancy or not. And yes, I have tried Shadow the Hedgehog, and no, it is not like Doom Eternal.